We are living through one of the wildest economic periods in the last probably century.
I guess I've just read enough history to know that whenever this has happened before, it has always ended badly. I don't like saying it. I don't see any way that this can end well for you, me, and our children. Anybody's children.
Where does gold fit into your framework for protecting wealth?
I own some gold.
Is this something that you foresee in the near future, or are we still years out from a potential U.S. collapse, so to speak?
I don't think it will be years out. No, I think it will be sooner than that. I look around every day trying to figure out where to go next, or what will be the new competitor to the U.S. dollar. I don't know yet. China's the only country in world history that's been on top 3 or 4 times. I mean, Rome was great once. Britain was great once. I was once held hostage in the Congo for 8 or 9 days.
Whoa.
But even I look back on my time in the Congo, it was great. With education, I learned a lot.
Hey everyone, this podcast is not investment advice, and I'm certainly not a financial advisor. Just a guy who spends too much time reading about markets. Before investing, do your own research, talk to a licensed advisor, and remember, risk is part of the game. Welcome back to another Pinnacle Digest pod. We are living through one of the wildest economic periods in the last probably century. We have record deficits, soaring debt, massive money printing, global conflicts, and yet the markets are trading at historic multiples, especially in America. It's a pretty tricky time to be an investor. And personally, while I have my apprehensions, I feel like I kind of have to be in this market, even though the foundation of the global economy, from my point of view, has been cracking for years. So in moments like this, you need clarity from, I think, someone who's lived through multiple cycles before. And when I started investing almost 20 years ago, Jim Rogers was one of the voices I loved to listen to. A true contrarian, he co-founded the Quantum Fund, helped launch Soros Fund Management, and created the Rogers International Commodities Index. Jim, needless to say, has seen and profited from major commodity booms and busts, and he's been warning about America's fiscal crisis long before most people were even paying attention. So it's a personal honor for me to have him on today. Jim, welcome to the pod.
Oh my gosh, I'm delighted to be here. I'm flattered. I'm honored. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. So let's jump right into it. You've said before, and I know you're a great reader and a historian, and you're well-traveled all over the world. You've said before that every great empire eventually goes bankrupt, and it's a pretty much flawless record over history that they all end up going bankrupt at some point. When you look at the United States today, are there any specific signs that remind you of previous empires kind of entering a decline, whether it's debt levels or social division or budget deficits? Do you see any similarities with past empires in decline?
Well, Aaron, I can count, I can add, I can subtract. The debt in the U.S., and I don't like saying this since I'm an American citizen and voter and taxpayer, but the debt in America is the highest that any nation in history has ever had, and it's going higher every day. This year alone, it's a staggering amount, and people in Washington don't even seem to know or notice or care. I certainly don't care, and I guess I've just read enough history to know that whenever this has happened before, it has always ended badly. I don't like saying it since I'm an American too, but I know that this is going to end badly. I don't know how it's going to end, but I know it's not going to be good for you or me or my children or anybody else.
Now, when you talk about, obviously in nominal terms, I guess we could say, the U.S. has accumulated more debt than any other country in the history of the world. But when you look at kind of debt to GDP levels, it's over 100%, obviously well over 100% now. But from a historical perspective, when you look at, the British Empire, the Roman Empire, or even the Ottoman Empire, going back, is this debt level really historic when you compare it to other empires?
I haven't counted it all up like maybe you have, but I do know that 100 years ago in 1925, Britain was the richest, most powerful country in the world. 50 years later, they were bankrupt. They elected Margaret Thatcher because they went bankrupt, and she tried to bail them out and save them. She did a lot of good things. Fortunately for her, as soon as she was elected, the North Sea oil started flowing, and that helped save Britain. But listen, every time this has happened in the past, it has not ended well. And I don't see any way that this can end well for you, me, and our children, anybody's children.
I look at America, and I mean, obviously I haven't had the experience you have, but I look at America, and it's hard to bet against them when you compare it to the basket of other, let's call it, leading economies. America always seems to find a way to come out with a new invention or new industry that boosts productivity. And I kind of, just to play devil's advocate, I kind of look at things like AI, for example, and I wonder if that is going to be enough of a productivity boost for the country to kind of keep its hegemonic status globally, because it does seem to be leading the charge on that front, and the industrious nature of the American people and the American entrepreneur seems to be pretty powerful. It's hard to want to bet against America. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think they can pull a rabbit out of the hat with a new industry like AI? Do you think there's the potential for that?
Well, AI is fabulous. It is changing the world. It is changing everything we know. But it's not just for us. Everybody has AI. It doesn't matter where you are. You have AI and you have access to AI. So yes, it's good for America, but it's good for the competition. It's good for everybody else too. I wish there was something that set us apart. When Britain went bankrupt, they had the North Sea oil, which helped save them and bail them out. I don't see anything like the North Sea oil coming to help us. If there is, hooray, hooray, hooray. But I don't know what it is now.
And with that backdrop, where does gold fit into your framework for protecting wealth?
I own some gold right here on my desk. I have some gold and silver. I don't know. I own gold. I own silver. If they go down, I hope I'm smart enough to buy more. I mean, for whatever it's worth, gold and silver have been valuable to human beings for hundreds, thousands of years. You remember Jesus Christ? Jesus Christ was sold for 30 pieces of silver because even then, in that area, silver was very, very valuable, and that was the medium of exchange. Whether we like it or not, history shows that gold and silver have always been valuable. I presume they always will be in my lifetime and my children's lifetime.
Kind of on that note, I've listened to several of your interviews over the last few months. And I think one of them you did mention that you moved to cash. I think it was a couple months ago, to US dollars in particular. So you've warned about America's debt problem. For years, you've been warning about it. But the US dollar is still strong. And as I think you mentioned, you moved to cash in US dollars. And the markets still treat treasuries sort of as risk-free. When I look at that, is this the classic, like when do treasury yields spike, if they do? Because to me, in past fallen empires, the cost of borrowing rises and they can't sustain the debt loads. Is America anywhere near that stage in your view? Are we in that kind of typical early innings of an empire collapsing, but you don't see it in the debt markets. I guess what I'm trying to say is we're not seeing it in the treasury markets. So is this something that you foresee in the near future, or are we still years out from a potential US collapse, so to speak?
I don't think it will be years out. No, I think it will be sooner than that. I own a lot of U.S. dollars. You might say, well, wait a minute. Why do you own U.S. dollars with the future that you see? And I own U.S. dollars because at the moment, nearly everybody in the world, when they think of a safe haven, they think of the U.S. dollar. And since they do, I do as well. I know the US dollar has deep fundamental flaws and problems, but as I look around the world, I don't see anything else. Or no, there must be something else. It's just that I don't know what it is yet. Yes, I own gold, I own silver, but that's not big enough for the whole world. And if and when serious problems arise, I don't know where to go. I'm looking for the new competitor to the US dollar. If you know it, please don't announce it on the air. Send me an email.
Kind of on that topic too, the BRICS nations are, and I know you're well traveled in China and you've done a lot of business throughout Asia. You live in Singapore. The BRICS nations are openly, and they have been for years, talking about a commodity-backed settlement currency. They're expanding their membership and seemingly reducing dependence on the US dollar. What I'm trying to figure out is this just kind of political posturing, or are we actually watching a new global monetary order take shape? Because when I look at the BRICS, they're not exactly all best friends. Like there's a lot of conflict between many of the BRICS nations.
I'm not the only person who knows that there's a deep problem with the US dollar and the US financial system. And other people are trying to figure out what to do. Throughout history, many people have tried to come up with alternatives to be the major currency or the major medium of exchange. I mean, I don't know if it's going to work. I doubt it. Most of these things have not worked in the past, but at least it's an indication that other people are aware of the problems. I mean, I can count, I can add, so I know the problem. But other people do too. I don't know the solution. The people you just mentioned, are looking for a solution. We'll see if it works. Probably not. It usually has not in the past, but people realize there's a problem.
So when you move to cash, this is something I wrestle with because I've had a few moments this year where I've wanted to move to cash. Not all, but a significant portion. Does it not concern you being in cash with inflation the way it is?
Well, of course it does, but being in the alternative, stocks in most countries worry me too, because if you look around, many stock markets have been making all-time highs. Mm-hmm. I have a little experience, and when I know that everybody's happy and everybody's making money, it has often led to problems.
In a world of rising deficits and currency dilution, many Americans are adding precious metals to their retirement accounts. And when it comes to physical gold and silver in an IRA, one thing matters above everything else: transparency. Unfortunately, the precious metals space is still full of hidden markups, confusing spreads, and fee structures most people never notice until it's too late. That's why so many US investors are turning to our sponsor of the pod, iTrust Capital. iTrust Capital offers fair, straightforward pricing over spot with zero storage fees. In a market where many dealers quietly gouge retail investors, that kind of transparency matters. iTrust also brings precious metals into the modern era. Using blockchain technology, iTrust lets you trade gold and silver 24/7, not just during banking hours. When the market moves, you can act. And if you prefer physical metal, iTrust Capital supports in-kind distributions, meaning you can receive real gold or silver from your IRA in whatever form you want. Bars, coins, you name it. And for those who want exposure to crypto, iTrust lets you hold Bitcoin and Ethereum inside the same IRA as your metals. So if you're a US investor looking for a modern, transparent way to own gold, silver, or crypto inside a tax-advantaged IRA, use our link in the video description to get our partnership offer. A $100 funding bonus when you open and fund your account with iTrust Capital?
I hope we're all very, very happy forever. But historically, that has usually led to changes and problems later.
Mm-hmm. And we're well into an era where major conflicts are happening at the same time. You have Ukraine, Middle East, rising tensions even in Asia. Historically, I know you've said wars kind of accelerate inflation and fiscal deterioration. They're expensive. How do today's conflicts shape your outlook for inflation? Do you think inflation is long-term? Do you think we're going to be coming out of it soon, as Trump suggests, which seems a bit optimistic in my view? But what do you think it's here to stay for longer term, or what?
First of all, Mr. Trump and other politicians are paid to say everything is okay.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be elected. They
Mm-hmm.
want everybody to be happy. And I want to be happy. And I want everybody to be happy. But I hope I do have enough experience or have read enough to know that when everybody is printing a lot of money and everybody is building up debt, it has usually led to problems in the past. I suspect it will again. I look around every day trying to figure out where to go next or what will be the new competitor to the US dollar. I don't know yet. Yes, I do own gold, I do own silver, but that's not going to replace the US dollar. If it does, it will only be temporarily. The world has tried gold and silver many times in history. I mean, the US, for instance, when it was founded in 1790 or whatever, it was founded on the silver standard. Mm-hmm. Silver was the basis for the American monetary system for 100 years or so. Then they came along with gold in the late 19th century, and gold and silver are still very important in the U.S. and have been throughout history. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know that gold and silver have been valuable and accepted.
Have you ever been a seller of gold and silver, or are you just a buy and accumulate your entire career?
Well, I've never sold any. I don't have a reason to sell any. I guess if I go broke, I'll have to sell some. But no. I hope that my children have my gold and silver someday.
What's the thesis behind that? Why not take advantage of strong markets? Like, I know you said you sold large portions of your stocks. I know you've been in and out of various markets globally in your career. Why have you never sold gold?
Well, so far I've had enough money that I could pay my bills. Again, if that changes, I'll have to sell my gold and silver. But so far, I can pay my bills without selling my gold and silver. I hope that my gold and silver are there till the end of time, end of my time.
So gold has always been the foundation of your safety. It's your safe haven. It's your true safe haven for your entire career.
Well, it's an insurance policy. Yes, a safe haven. Call it what you want to. Who knows what's going to happen? But I do know throughout history, if there's a problem, it's good to have a little gold in the closet, a little silver under the bed. So we'll see.
I know in the past you've said some of the best investments of your life, came during periods of crisis and market panics. If you had to rank, and I want to hold you to this, if you had to rank the most mispriced or undervalued asset today, what do you think it would be? I know you like gold. We've talked about silver in the past. I know you've talked about agriculture. I look at things like oil right now. It seems relatively cheap. What would be number one on your list for a potentially undervalued asset globally right now?
Well, I don't have a serious answer to you, except I do know that agriculture is cheap on a historic basis. I mean, all of us went to school, and very few of our classmates became farmers in the end. So I know that around the world, the population of farmers is getting very, very old. And historically, that usually has led to good opportunities. So I would say agriculture, but that's not a measured or researched answer. It's my impression of being around and having a lot of experience.
I remember one interview you did many, many years ago. I watched it. I'll never forget it. I think it was, I'm paraphrasing, in the future, farmers would be the ones driving Lamborghinis. So you still think that agriculture is a good place? And obviously agriculture is a broad term, but you think it's a good place to park capital?
Yes. I mean, I know that for hundreds of years, thousands of years, we've been eating and wearing clothes. And that will happen in the future and to repeat. Not many people we went to school with became farmers. They all went to Wall Street or broadcasting or something. And that, when there's a shortage of people in any area, it usually leads to shortages and higher prices.
I want to jump back to China because I know you've spent a lot of time there. I think also in another interview, way, way back in the day, you said one of the smartest things you can do is teach your kids, I think it was Mandarin. What China to me, and broad brush, but I'm saying the equity markets in particular, they seem certainly relatively cheap. Do you see opportunity in China?
To just expand a little bit, both of my children speak perfect Mandarin, so wow. I have done that. It does not going to make them successful in life, but at least it will give them advantage that many other people do not have. I wish that were all it took to become successful.
Yeah,
but it's going to take other things as well. But yes, as far as I can see, China is certainly on the rise again. China's the only country in world history that's been on top 3 or 4 times. I mean, Rome was great once. Britain was great once. Egypt was great once. But China's been on top 3 or 4 times. China's had collapsed and had catastrophe 3 or 4 times. But for some reason, and I don't know the answer, I would like to figure it out. For some reason, China, after being on the bottom for a few decades or centuries, turns around and rises again. It's happening now. I do not have an answer why, but it has happened before.
I see a book behind you. I think it's about Xi Jinping. But what do you think of his leadership? I think the previous leader was Jintao, I believe. He seemed more, I guess I would say, capitalistic. Xi seems a little bit communistic. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But what's your take on him? Is he the right leader to take China to its aspiring hegemonic status, or what do you think?
Well, if you go to Washington, we can probably say some of the things. You know, the people in Washington throughout my lifetime, most of them have not been very smart people or successful people. They've been successful in politics. Yes. The goal in politics is to get elected. So all of those people have been successful at what they do. But in my lifetime, the U.S. has gone from being the largest creditor nation in the world to the largest debtor nation, and not just in the world, but in history. And the debt is getting deeper and deeper in the United States. I'm not happy about that, but I have to face the facts. Will that be good? I doubt it. It never has been for anybody to be a gigantic debtor. So we will see. I'm still very keen on the U.S. I'm an American, etc. But I have to face facts. I don't know how it's going to wind up. Now, China is rising. China has been very successful a few times in history. It looks like it's going to be again. But China will make mistakes too. They're all human beings, like you and me and all the rest of us. So, but as I look around the world, and I worry about this every day, I think about this every day, I don't see anybody else at this point in life. I'm sure there will be somebody. I just don't know who that country is yet.
Tell me a little bit about China. Let's say, for example, I'm an entrepreneur. I want to go start a business. Let's say it's some sort of a franchise or a bunch of restaurants. Is it easy to do, just like it is in America, or?
But I've never tried, so I don't know. I do know that they have a gigantic population, Most of the Chinese that I have met admire America. They think they know that America is a great success story, and they want to learn from and visit America. I mean, everybody loves what we have done, and the Chinese certainly know what we have done. Most of the individuals throughout history, the Chinese have wanted to be successful, and they often have been very successful. Is that going to continue? It seems to me it is. Will there be mistakes? Of course. Will there be problems? Of course. I don't know what, but I know we all make huge mistakes. They will too.
Mm-hmm. Do you own Chinese equities?
I do own Chinese shares. One of the few countries where I still own shares. I have the situation is that the Chinese market recently has been going straight up. So I'm perplexed because it is going straight up. Mm-hmm. And that usually means you should sell any market that goes straight up. So I am trying to figure out what to do.
It seems all global markets are going up pretty aggressively over the last, call it 6 months or so, and many, many years prior to that. Do you think that's just a function of inflation, or what, do you think there's actual fundamentals behind these?
That is an important insight, an important observation. Yes, this is one of the few times in history where everybody has been going up, and it's been going on for a while. It's not just a few weeks or something. It's going on for several years now. Mm-hmm. Historically, that has led to problems. Maybe it's different this time. But be careful when somebody tells you it's different this time, because we will see. I hope it's different this time, but it never has been. And when everybody is doing well and everybody is complacent and happy, and debt gets higher and higher and higher, it has often led to problems.
I'm trying to find some of the silver linings these days, or the contrarian opportunities. You've been a contrarian investor virtually your whole career. You look for sectors and markets that are out of favor. What do you think about the energy industry, specifically oil?
There is no question oil has a prosperous future. Whether we like it or not, known reserves of oil are in decline everywhere. And eventually, we're going to have a serious shortage problem worldwide. Not today, but the reserves do continue to decline. I mean, these are just simple numbers. You can look them up. And if oil supplies continue to decline, we're going to have more oil problems, more energy problems in the future. Okay. We're looking for alternatives. I hope we find alternatives, but at the moment, I anyway don't know what they will be, if anything. Yes, solar power is great. Wind power is great. All alternatives are great, but none of them are competitive yet with oil.
Taking a step back, when you look back on your great career, what would you say, if you had to pick one, was your greatest call or trade? Something that you spotted kind of before the masses or before the market took notice. What comes to mind?
My children. For many years, I was anti-children. I did not want children. I felt sorry for my friends who had children. They ruined their lives by having children. But then I have a couple now. I know I was wrong about children. Now, if you have children at the wrong time, it can be a mistake. But I was much older. So I would say that for me, my best success story is my 2 children. And I hope that continues. You can ask me in 30 or 40 years if that's still the case. But at the moment, I would be extremely happy about my children. I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad to see how they are developing.
Right on. I have 2 boys myself. One's a teenager, which makes me second guess some things, but no, they're amazing. That's a great answer. On that point, this is another thing that I think about a lot, kind of with some macro investing thesis that I come up with. But one of the issues that I'm seeing, and I think it's going to affect people potentially with a 15, 20-year time horizon, is the fertility crisis, particularly in the West. So obviously, the average woman in most Western countries now is having less than replacement level of children. Naturally, over time, if that doesn't change, and the trend has been going down for 50 years, that's going to have an impact on demand for certain things. Have you thought about this issue and the fertility crisis at all, and how it may impact things like, for example, real estate, even things like energy consumption and so forth? Is that something that you think about when you consider investment opportunities, or what's your thoughts on the fertility crisis, or do you not worry about it?
That's a perceptive insight. There's no question that it's happening in many countries around the world, many countries, not just one or two, and that will certainly lead to changes in the future. From my point of view, I'm old. It's a good time to be an old American. It's not a good time to be a young American, but you can add, I can add, and I know what's happening. I don't know any country where it's going to disappear in my lifetime. I mean, the Japanese have had a declining population for 15 years now.
Yeah.
That's not a typo. That's not for whatever reason, the Japanese population is continuing to decline. And they don't particularly have much immigration for whatever reason. So, Japan has a gigantic problem. But in your lifetime and my lifetime, it's going to be a problem, but it's not the end of Japan yet. Mm-hmm. Is it a problem? Japan is a declining population, skyrocketing debt. That has always led to problems down the road. So yes, I love Japan, but I can add and subtract. And if that happens continues to happen in other countries, many people would have problems. Mm-hmm. But I repeat, it's a good time to be old, because I'm not going to have to worry about much of it.
Lastly, one commodity that I'm always paying attention to is copper. What do you think about the outlook for copper? Everybody's talking about this deficit, this potentially multi-decade deficit coming. What's your your copper outlook, or do you have one?
You've done your research. You understand that as we look around the world, not many people have been opening big copper mines in recent years. And the use of copper continues to rise, especially since electricity continues to grow because of computers and many other things. So yes, no, don't sell your copper. Or anyway, copper is not going to replace gold and silver in the future, but the fundamentals of copper continue to be good and continue to improve.
From an outside looking in perspective, you seem to be a very balanced individual. How did you come up with your own formula for life on how to find balance? Because obviously you're working in a very performance-driven world, or you were, and you have a family and so forth. How did you find balance? What was the key there?
I hasten to tell you, I have made many mistakes. You want me to tell you about my first wife? What a mistake. What a mistake that was. So, and I hope I live long enough to make more mistakes. I hope they're not serious mistakes, but no. And I hope I learn from my mistakes. I hope we all do. Nothing wrong with making mistakes, especially if you learn from them. And I hope we all make more mistakes, but I hope we all learn from them. And how do I get balance? I don't know. I guess I have learned from my mistakes. I did realize early in my life that I didn't just want to make money. I wanted adventure. I wanted experiences. So I drove around the world twice.
In a world of rising deficits and currency dilution, many Americans are adding precious metals to their retirement accounts. And when it comes to physical gold and silver in an IRA, one thing matters above everything else: transparency. Unfortunately, the precious metals space is still full of hidden markups, confusing spreads, and fee structures most people never notice until it's too late. That's why so many US investors are turning to our sponsor of the pod, iTrust Capital. iTrust Capital offers fair, straightforward pricing over spot with zero storage fees. In a market where many dealers quietly gouge retail investors, that kind of transparency matters. iTrust also brings precious metals into the modern era. Using blockchain technology, iTrust lets you trade gold and silver 24/7, not just during banking hours. When the market moves, you can act. And if you prefer physical metal, iTrust Capital supports in-kind distributions, meaning you can receive real gold or silver from your IRA in whatever form you want: bars, coins, you name it. And for those who want exposure to crypto, iTrust lets you hold Bitcoin and Ethereum inside the same IRA as your metals. So if you're a US investor looking for a modern, transparent way to own gold, silver, or crypto inside a tax-advantaged IRA, use our link in the video description to get our partnership offer: a $100 funding bonus when you open and fund your account with iTrust Capital.
And to me, I'm sure someday my children are going to say, why did he have so much adventure? Why did he make more money? But for me, yes, I want to have enough money to pay my bills. But for me, it was never a driving ambition to have all the money in the world. My goal was to have adventure and experience and to see as much of the world as I could.
Amazing.
Yes, it has led to mistakes, of course, but it's also been satisfying to me. I mean, one reason I live in Singapore is because the world is changing. And I have always wanted to try to experience as much of life as I could. That has been and continues to be more important than money for me. But for many people, money is much more important than experience and life. So everybody has to do their own way.
Great outlook. When you drove around the world twice, what was your favorite country?
What a good question. And the problem with the question is, I loved many places. I was once held hostage in the Congo for 8 or 9 days.
Whoa.
But even I look back on my time in the Congo, it was great. It was educational. I learned a lot. Fortunately, I'm still alive, so I'm happy. So it's easy to say that.
Yeah.
But no, even the Congo, which was a desperate place at times. And even though I was held hostage there, I still, since I'm alive and well, I can say it was a good experience. Now, if I were dead, I don't know if I'd say that. If I lost my arms or legs or something, I don't know if I would say that. But I did survive. And so it was educational.
How did you end up as a hostage in Congo?
In the Congo in those days, there were very few foreigners, especially white people. Very, very few American. When they found out that you were an American white people, oh my gosh, everybody got excited because everybody thought you must be rich.
Right.
American. They saw my motorcycle. They thought they'd never seen a motorcycle like that. So, the sheriff was one of the first people to find out. And the sheriff, who was very pleasant, he took us home to dinner with his family. I mean, we went to the nightclubs together. He was very hospitable and friendly, but he wouldn't let us leave. He wouldn't. He refused. Eventually, I convinced him I didn't have any more money to give them bribes. They took us down to the railroad. They put us on a flat car and told the engineer, don't let these people off the flat car, until they're out of the country.
Wow.
I mean, so it was not a pleasant experience, but in the end, it was okay. And I can sit here and tell you the story and laugh about it.
Wow.
At the time, I was constantly under duress and anxiety, but here I am, alive and well, and I can tell you about it.
Amazing. So Congo is probably not your favorite country that you've been to. What would be one of your favorites?
No, I actually enjoyed my time in the Congo. I didn't like being held hostage. Well, it was a good experience. I mean, the Belgium Congo, as it used to be called, became extremely exciting and rich. But when the foreigners came in, they found there were huge mines.
Yep.
Great fortunes made. We were staying in the best hotel in town. When we checked in, they gave me a bucket. And I said, "What's the bucket for?" And they said, "Well, you go down to the river if you want to get water." So we had to go and fill up our buckets if we wanted water. It was that kind of place. The hotel had deteriorated since the Belgians are running the place. But no, it was interesting experience. I wish I could answer your question about a favorite country. They were all interesting in the end. I mean, China, of course. I could see what was happening in China. And it was exciting. It is exciting to see what is happening in China. But, I mean, even Russia, I mean, the Soviet Union, there was disaster in the Soviet Union under the communists. But I met smart people, interesting people, exciting people. And I have found that if you go anywhere, if you are patient and curious, you're going to find smart, interesting people. They will all drink beer with you.
Yeah.
They will all sing and dance with you if you're nice.
I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a great conversation.
Well, I am flattered. I am honored. I am delighted. I hope we do it again sometime. And if we're ever in the Congo together, I'll buy the beer.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I'll make sure to bring a security guard, but that sounds like a plan, Jim. Yeah, thank you so much for your time, and take care.